Whether you're online, communicating with friends and family, paying your bills, or doing some shopping, there's plenty of opportunity for those with some nefarious intentions to get your information and possibly steal your identity, your hard-earned cash, or both. And these online scams are becoming more prevalent as technology improves and more people become present online. Joining us for some helpful advice from our friends at the West Bloomfield Police Department is Detective Tim Lillard. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Hello, how are you?
Doing all right. How are you doing today?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Glad to have you on to talk about this because this is an issue that can affect anybody of any age that has some sort of connection to the web in 2025 and beyond. So presently, what are some of the more prevalent online scams that we're seeing affect residents in greater West Bloomfield and nearby areas?
The biggest one right now is involving with WhatsApp. There's a lot of cryptocurrency, different platforms out there, and more coming every day. And here specifically in Southeast Michigan and in West Bloomfield, I mean, I've got numerous cases right now where people have gone on. One case where thought it was a dating relationship and then went over to investment stuff, and others that just propose themselves as investment for cryptocurrency and in hopes of these large returns. They're getting pretty sophisticated with having these websites showing other people potentially making all this money. They get people to invest it, and over a period of time, they keep investing more. Then when they go to try and take money out, they realize they're being scammed because they're getting asked for paying of fees from it, and it can't come from your proceeds. It's got to come from your personal account. And in reality, the whole setup is fake.
And so what are we seeing be maybe different now versus in past years as these scams sort of develop? Because as you said, people are getting a little bit more sophisticated as time goes on with the development of these scams. How is that manifesting presently?
Well, like in these platforms that they're creating, they're showing other people that are, and some of them are truly people that are investing, but unaware of the scam. And what's happening is they see these big paydays of, you invest 20, 30, 40,000 or more. And in a short period of time, your account is now up to 200,000. And so they start putting more money in. And I mean, there's people that have put $1 million in and that money's gone. They're not in the country, but they're using Telegram and WhatsApp to communicate and getting people to transfer money overseas.
And so as people get into these situations, they do so mostly innocently from the victim's point of view, trying to better their investment portfolio, make good for their family, pay their bills, whatever the motivation may be. From the scammer side of things, what sort of is the step-by-step process that we typically see them taking that turns this from what seems on the surface like an innocent communication maybe between people in a budding friendship to ultimately being a large-scale robbery?
For sure. Yeah, no, rarely are they doing the romance stuff now, but it is still happening.
Of course. And
then getting them to invest. It's like there's these investment groups on WhatsApp and Telegram, and they're never meeting anybody. They're never physically talking to somebody, no voice or video, and they're transferring money from their legitimate accounts into these other accounts through WhatsApp and Telegram. And they are elaborate where, like I said, when they try and withdraw money at some point, they're told you have to pay these fees because you've earned this money, but it can't come from your earnings. And I mean, they have actual trading lines going across their screen showing cryptocurrency moving from one place to another. So it looks legitimate enough, but in no way is it. One case alone is Cambodia, where it turns out they're at, and other, countries way outside of West Bloomfield. And people are just getting devastated because they're putting sometimes college money for their kids in there. They're very sophisticated in what they're doing.
And these are serious situations, too. Like you said, these can affect people's immediate finances, their long-term finances, college funds, retirement funds. It could bankrupt you immediately, depending on the scale of these scams. And so before it gets to that point where someone's in too deep, what should they be looking for as potential signs that they may be falling victim to a scam before it's too late?
Well, the very first indicator is legitimate companies aren't going to be, doing investing through WhatsApp and Telegram. There's legitimate platforms out there for doing it, like Coinbase being probably one of the biggest ones. They're regulated. They're marketplaces. The government has things in place to make sure that funds are being tracked and legitimate people are doing it. So the biggest thing is they'll claim they're like part of Morgan Stanley and other investment companies, but as you know, these companies aren't going to be doing investment portfolios through WhatsApp and Telegram.
Detective Tim Lillard is with us from the West Bloomfield Police Department as we talk about scams that are affecting people here in greater West Bloomfield and in nearby areas, particularly when it comes to cryptocurrency. But they mirror and they are parallel to so many other different kinds of scams that we see targeting people's personal information. Even lately, people have received mailers in the greater West Bloomfield area saying that they have overdue bills for GFL Environmental, which hasn't been the trash and recycling service for our community in several months. Now it's over at Priority Waste. And so a lot of times you get these messages, whether it's snail mail or it's email, and it looks really legit. How do you sort of decipher between when you should be providing some information to a legitimate entity and someone's trying to take that information from you?
Sure. First of all, anytime you're receiving information, you're not requesting it, question it. Don't ever click links in any type of text message or emails. Always contact these places that you deal with, or if they claim to be from a bank or a legitimate source like Morgan Stanley, call the numbers that you know. The Amazon accounts, did you authorize this charge? If not, call this phone number or click this link. And these are always going to be scams. Amazon's not going to send you that kind of stuff. IRS doesn't send you tax bills or threaten you with jail. Always contact online the legitimate companies through a phone number that you know, not what's been sent to you.
Great advice from the West Bloomfield Police Department. You can find even more of this advice on ongoing scams and others that may arise, other tactics that may arise in our community and beyond. Follow them on Facebook at West Bloomfield PD for even more information. Detective Lillard, with only a couple more minutes left with you on today's program, but for people that do end up in these situations, whether they catch it early on or they catch it after it is a bit too late in the process and they've fallen victim to these scams, what steps can be taken and what can law enforcement do to help alleviate these scenarios, if anything at all?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid or ashamed. Very educated people, all walks of life, fall for these scams, including people in cybersecurity. Report it. That's the first thing. And then go on to ic3.gov, which is the letter I, the letter C, and the number 3.gov. Report it there. That's run by the FBI. And other government agencies, and it allows them to collect all this data from around the country, seeing the trends, and then hopefully picking up the case and trying to track them down.
Yeah, and of course, when those scams are happening online and those funds have been moved around out of your bank accounts, in some scenarios, it can be really tough, if not impossible, to get those funds back in part or especially in full. So all the more reason to take some of this advice from Detective Lillard and the West Bloomfield Police Department to heart and keep yourself aware of some of these ongoing tactics being used by very sophisticated people who are becoming a lot more skilled at enacting these scams as time goes on. Detective Lillard, anything else for us today?
And just, get in, make the reports. Don't ever pay, they'll threaten to send other information out and that. Don't ever pay that. Get law enforcement involved. We can help. We have resources and to help try to mitigate the loss or the exposure.
Always better to get some help from our local law enforcement when something doesn't seem quite right, to, at the very least, help yourself out, but possibly help many others not fall victim to these scams and these scammers across our local area and far beyond, trying to take your information and your money. Detective Lillard, thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.